Bigfoot. He's a household name. Everyone has heard countless stories about the legendary creature, and many people claim to have seen him themselves. But what exactly is the history behind this giant, hairy, ape-like wild animal? When was the first Bigfoot sighting? How has the legend of Bigfoot evolved since then? Bigfoot is reported to be anywhere from 6 feet tall to well over 10 feet, with most reports putting the height somewhere around 8 or 9 feet tall, or about 2.5 meters. Though it is hard to calculate based on what information we have, the weight of a Bigfoot is estimated to typically be somewhere between 400 and 700 pounds, or about 180 to 310 kilograms. Such a large creature has to eat a lot of food to sustain that body mass. Estimates say that a Bigfoot eats about 5,000 calories per day, 2.5 times more than the average human. Bigfoot is also reported to be a rather intelligent creature, seeing as they're likely related to humans and apes, and are smart enough to stay very well hidden. The brain size of a Bigfoot is estimated to be around 770 cubic centimeters. For comparison, a gorilla's brain is about 532 cubic centimeters, and a human's brain is 1,350 cubic centimeters. These estimates are hard to make without a Bigfoot body, however, and may actually be much lower or higher in reality. But one sign of Bigfoot intelligence we can observe is their communication. There are alleged audio recordings of Bigfoot using more complex language than their ape relatives. One such recording is the famous Sierra sounds, which captures a group of Bigfoots communicating through howls and screeches before making sounds that resemble a simple language. Regardless of the authenticity of this recording, Bigfoot seem to, at the very least, have a rather complex system of communication through grunts, howls, and screams, likely due to their large brain size. So, enough about Bigfoot as a creature. Let's take a look into the history of Bigfoot. Bigfoot researchers have proposed one main hypothesis about how Bigfoot evolved, known as the Bigfoot Giganto theory. The Bigfoot Giganto theory claims that the Bigfoot we know today is a living relative of the ancient Gigantopithecus. Gigantopithecus is actually a genus, or group of species, consisting of one species, Gigantopithecus blacki, as well as other remains that may or may not fall under the same genus. The only remains of Gigantopithecus we have found so far are teeth and 4 mandibles. Due to this, it's hard to estimate things like appearance and size of the creature, but we do know that it was a herbivore that lived in southern China from 2 million to about 300,000 years ago. DNA sequencing of Gigantopithecus has revealed that it is very closely related to modern-day orangutans. Estimates of size put Gigantopithecus around 440 to 660 pounds, 200 to 300 kilograms, a range very similar to the estimates of Bigfoot weight. These estimates are very hard to make based on teeth size alone, however, so they may be very inaccurate. Gigantopithecus is believed to have gone fully extinct around 215,000 years ago due to grassland expansion causing the decline of forest in its natural habitat. Though we know very little about Gigantopithecus, perhaps they were very secretive, much like modern-day Bigfoot, which would explain the scarcity of remains. The Bigfoot Giganto theory hypothesizes that around 500,000 years ago, the hominids that would evolve into modern-day humans and apes began to leave the forests and create more organized settlements. Gigantopithecus, however, remained in the forest, wandering around in small, nomadic groups. Over time, they developed adaptations to this lifestyle, like loud howls for communications over long distances, and they learned to be nocturnal to avoid human activity. These adaptations gradually turned into what we today know as Bigfoot. Accounts of creatures similar to Bigfoot are common throughout the folklore of many cultures all around the world. Many of these legends fixate on a human-like giant with a name that often translates to wild man or something similar. In Europe specifically, there are many folklore accounts of a large wild man of the woods, being a naked creature covered in hair. Perhaps the oldest depiction of what is likely an actual Bigfoot was found on the Toole Indian Reservation in Porterville, Central California in 1882. The site, known as Painted Rock, was created around 1,000 years ago by a tribe of the Yokut people. The rock depicts a family of Bigfoots, a mother, father, and child, as well as other various animals that are native to the area. The largest of the Bigfoots, known as Hairy Man, is 8.5 feet or 2.6 meters tall. Hairy Man has long hair with lines coming down from his eyes. The Yokuts created folk stories and pictographs based on animal behavior they observed in their own world. Hairy Man plays an important role in the creation story of the Yokuts. Summarizing the story to focus on the parts including Hairy Man, the story goes as follows. All the birds and animals of the mountains went to Hochu, the Yokut name for painted rock, to make people. Eagle, chief of all the animals, asked each animal how they wanted people to be. The animals all took turns giving suggestions on what characteristics and abilities people should have. Eagle said, people should be wise, wiser than me, so people will help animals and take care of the earth. Coyote said, people should be just like me because I am smart and tricky, so have them walk on all fours. Hairy Man, who had not said anything yet, shook his head and said no, people should walk on 2 legs, like me. All the other animals agreed with Hairy Man, but Coyote grew angry. Coyote challenged him to a race, and whoever won would decide how people walk. When the race began, Coyote took a shortcut. Hairy Man was much smarter than Coyote and knew Coyote would cheat, so he stayed behind and helped the other animals create people instead of racing with Coyote. All the animals went to the rock and drew people, and when they breathed on these drawings, people came from the ground, standing on 2 legs. Hairy Man was very happy and went to meet the new people, but they were scared of him and ran away. This made Hairy Man sad. All the animals drew their pictures on the rock so that people would always remember them. When it came to be Hairy Man's turn to draw himself, he was sad because people were afraid of him, and his drawing depicts himself as such. The lines on his face in the painted rock pictograph depict tears, as he is sad that the people he helped create are afraid of him. That is the Yokut story of how people were made. Hairy Man has many characteristics of modern-day Bigfoot. He lived in the trees and hunted at night while people slept. The Yokuts say that when they would pound and grind acorns for food, they would leave it in the sun to dry and come back to it later. They would sometimes return to find it gone, with giant footprints in the sand nearby. They believed Hairy Man listened for the sounds of acorn pounding and knew that when it stopped, there was food to be found. The Yokut stories of Hairy Man are, by far, the most in-depth ancient reports and stories of Bigfoots. There is even more that I have not covered. But how did Bigfoot sightings and stories evolve from Hairy Man into what we think of today as Bigfoot? In the 1500s, explorers from Spain and settlers from Mexico told stories of the Los Vigilantes Oscuros, or Dark Watchers, who were giant creatures that stalked their camps at night. These Dark Watchers have become a popular folklore topic in California, and many accounts believe there's something other than Bigfoot, reporting them to wear cloaks and brimmed hats, but there are a few similarities to Bigfoot. In 1721, a Jesuit priest in Mississippi reported stories of hairy creatures living in the forest that would scream loudly and steal local livestock. There are a handful of 1800s newspaper articles about Bigfoot I found researching for this video, so we'll go over some of the most interesting ones. The Long Island Star, based in Brooklyn, New York, published an article on September 16, 1818, saying that a gentleman of unquestioned veracity saw an animal resembling the wild man of the woods. The man claimed that the Bigfoot emerged from the woods nearby, stood and looked at him, then took off running. The creature was described as bending forward when running, hairy, with the heel of the foot being rather narrow. The article goes on to say that hundreds have been in pursuit of the creature since, but nothing was found. The Boston Post published an article on October 7, 1895, about a wild man. The article says that reports of a wild man have been occurring for over a month in the area. The first report of the wild man was by a resident named Riley Smith. Smith claimed he met a strange being in the woods that had a, quote, hirsute growth on its face through which the north wind was blowing, that it uttered a loud howl or yell, and with amazing swiftness leapt into the recesses of the forest. Another man, only referred to in the paper as Locke Perkins's brother, claimed to have seen and spoke with the creature. The conversation goes as follows. "Good morning," said he, the creature. "Good morning," responded Locke Perkins's brother. "Kindly inform me," said the wild man, pointing a gaunt, bony finger in the direction of a cluster of houses beyond the wooded valley, "what that place is." "That," replied Locke Perkins's brother, marveling greatly that the thing should have power of speech, "is Colebrook Center." "Thank you," said the wild man with a bow. "Charming weather we're enjoying these autumnal days." The wild man then disappeared suddenly. There's even more to this event in these articles than I've said here. I'm not sure if this is a case of mass hysteria or if people really were seeing anything like Bigfoot, but it is certainly interesting. I've linked the newspaper article below in the description if you want to read the full thing for yourself. In 1929, a man named J.W. Burns, who worked closely with many Native American tribes, published a collection of stories titled Introducing BC's Hairy Giants, a collection of strange tales about British Columbia's wild men as told by those who say they have seen them. Here, Burns coined the term Sasquatch for the first time. Sasquatch is believed to be an anglicized form of the Howkomalan word Saskets, meaning hairy man. The Howkomalan language was spoken by various tribes in British Columbia. The term Bigfoot first came around in 1958. Jerry Crew, an employee for a logging company in Humboldt County, California, discovered 16-inch human-like footprints deep in the mud of a national forest. As a side note, this area of California is where the famous Patterson-Gimlin film would later be recorded. When Crew told his coworkers about the giant footprints, many of them reported seeing similar things. They also reported an instance of an oil drum weighing 450 pounds, 200 kilograms, being moved, seemingly with no explanation. Crew and his co-workers initially believed this to be the result of a prank. After they kept seeing the footprints, they contacted a local newspaper, where Andrew Ginzoli of the Humboldt Times interviewed various lumber workers from the area. Ginzoli was the first to use the term Bigfoot to describe the creature leaving these huge tracks. A plaster cast was made of one of these footprints, and an article published on October 6, 1958 featured a picture of Jerry Crew with the cast on the front page. This incident really started to spread the legend of Bigfoot through modern America and helped to get people interested in finding the mythical creature. In 2002, the family of a co-worker of Jerry Crew revealed that the prints were actually a hoax. The co-worker, named Ray Wallace, had a collection of large carved wooden feet in his basement that were found after his passing. The family says that Wallace was responsible for creating the tracks Crew and his co-workers found. After Crew found these tracks and received media coverage, Bigfoot became a hot topic in America. From this article, our modern-day interpretations and research of Bigfoot would be born. Many people have spent much time and money since then trying to find the elusive cryptid, but with no success yet. Perhaps Bigfoot is simply good at hiding from humans, both while alive and after death.